All right. We all know that in Vancouver and in Toronto, the condo situation is not great. Vancouver, it's probably manageable, but bad. Toronto, it's just a complete catastrophe. So those prices will fall in Toronto. They'll continue to fall. There's a point where they become interesting to some people, but we're nowhere near that point yet. They're just way too expensive, overpriced, and there's just too much wildness going on in the marketplace right now. You know, I was told the other day, even in Calgary, things are off. I mean, I was talking to a person who's right in a right spot, knows the market. It's her job to understand it. She's in the business of selling pre-con condos. And her information to me was, hey, look, you Toronto people have left. You know, there's nobody here. Vancouver people don't come anymore to buy up. 23, they were hoovering up. 22, 23, they were hoovering up condos, pre-construction condos. We were selling out these pre-construction projects to those investors from Ontario, British Columbia. Gone. They're not there anymore. They're gone. So I asked her, I said, well, why aren't the Calgary people buying these condos in Calgary as an investment and rent them out? She says, well, everybody in Calgary thinks our prices are crazy, absolutely nuts. The only people who thought the prices were okay were people from Toronto and Vancouver who are used to insane prices, like completely insane condo prices, nuts, off the scale. Nobody can understand them. But people in Alberta, they just tell us that the prices are too high to rent out. Okay, there may be some end users, yeah, but people want to live in them, but not enough. So I guess the bloom is off condos everywhere. Well, Montreal, I think they're fine. But look, why we get this constantly, this endless question in social media, all kinds of questions from all the platforms we work on in social media. Why aren't the house prices coming down a lot? Like the house prices, okay. Well, first of all, in certain locations, house prices are down. Like if you're in the far distant 905 and you bought at the worst possible time, if you bought in Oshawa, Ontario in 2021 and you overbid, you were the top bid of 38 bids and you overbid everybody and you bought a house that sold 2 years before for $480,000 and you paid $1 million, you lose. I mean, you're way down. But people always ask me, where are the reductions in prices in like real reductions, significant reductions in 416, in prime 905, the stuff that's, really, Markham. Anyway, why aren't those prices way down? And the simple reason is this. There's not enough of them. Seriously, there's not enough of them. We quit building homes, low-rise homes, like single family in particular, in Ontario. We quit building them in any meaningful way in 2018. 80% of all the builds from 2018, new starts, high-rise. They're all high-rise. All the purpose-built rental, condos we know. That's what it was. So there were very few low-rise, particularly single detached homes being built in Ontario, very few in British Columbia, particularly in the Lower Mainland. There's geographic problems there. But like, if you don't build something, you don't have much inventory. And more to the point, what we've got to remember is, even if things get even worse than they are today, even if there's a big recession, even though immigration is not just slowed, it's actually in some places it's reversing. In the towns where there were community colleges across Canada and there was a huge influx of students for these terrible community college abusive temporary student visas, they're going back. And so in a recession with shrinking population in some cases, because immigrants can choose to leave, right? They can say, you know what, this thing isn't going good at all here, so I'm leaving. So with all those things going again, oh, wait a minute. How about the people who bought rental properties, pre-construction rental properties, using a home equity line of credit on their home? How about those? Yeah, that they could have some trouble. Okay, all true. That's all true. So why shouldn't that lead to widespread reduction in single-family homes, in single-family home prices? Well, it possibly could, but here's again what's going against it. Very few new properties, new single-family homes in Ontario and British Columbia from 2018 onward, even 2017 to a certain extent. And there's a lot of those people don't have to sell. That's one thing about if you're in that single-family home, if you're in that neighborhood that you really like, if you're in that region that's sought after, 416, other close by 905 suburbs, Vancouver proper, Surrey, Burnaby, like North Van, West Van. If you own the properties you like in those regions, you may not need to sell at all. Like you may have no mortgage, you may have a very low mortgage. Everything might be quite manageable for you. You might be retired. You might be a physician. You might be a successful business person. You might be a dentist. But you might be this highly established person living in this home, in this region that you like, in the home that you like, and you don't feel the pressure to sell in any way. Not at all. So that's a key element to all of these points about why haven't the price of single-family homes dropped more dramatically than they have in some of those regions, and most of those regions, is that those folks don't need to sell. A lot of them do not need to sell. They don't feel the pressure. I listed the people who might feel the pressure, but what if they're a minority? What if they're a significant minority? Now, sure, the first low price sets the bar for the entire neighborhood, the entire region. So if prices could fall in those areas, we would notice it. It would be statistically important. But how many of them really need to sell? That's the question. So when you have a very slow building, you're not building any new ones in many of these areas. You haven't built any new ones for a while, new single-family homes, and the people inside the existing single-family homes are in a position to stay, then you just might find it's a very, very slow grind for house prices to come down. I'm not saying they won't. I am not saying that. But what I'm saying is it could be a slow grind.